All right, good afternoon. I have a couple of Africa-related announcement. One is that the Secretary General will be traveling to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia tomorrow, where he will participate in the 32nd Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of States and Governments of the African Union that is being held under the theme Refugees, Returnees, Internally Displaced Persons Towards Durable Solutions for Forced Displacement in Africa. On Saturday, the Secretary General will meet with Moussa Faki Mahamat, the chairperson of the African Union Commission, and participate in a joint meeting between the AU commissioners and senior UN Secretariat officials. The Secretary General will underscore the deep partnership and shared goals between the UN and the African Union. The Secretary General will also hold a number of bilateral meetings with heads of states and governments attending the summit. At the AU Summit, he will also attend an African leadership meeting on investing in health, hosted by Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda and the outgoing chairperson of the African Union. He will also participate in an education event focused on girls' participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. On Sunday, he will hold more bilateral meetings before attending the opening session of the opening ceremonies of the official session of the Assembly. And during his remarks there, he will salute Africa's deep generosity and commitment to keep its borders and hearts open to people in need. Africa has set the gold standard for solidarity, the Secretary General will say. He's also scheduled to hold a press conference at African Union headquarters on Sunday afternoon before making his way back to New York, and we all expect to be back at work and the office on the 12th of February. I also have a statement on the signing of the Central African Republic Peace Agreement. On the occasion of the signing of the Global Peace Agreement between the government of the Central African Republic and armed groups on February 6th in Bangui, the Secretary General congratulates all stakeholders for the successful conclusion of the talks that took place in Khartoum in Sudan. The Secretary General commends the leadership role of the African Union in the talks, which were carried out with the support of the United Nations in the framework of the African Initiative for Peace and Reconciliation in the Central African Republic. The Secretary General encourages all stakeholders to live up to their commitments in the implementation period. The Secretary General reiterates the United Nations commitment to assist the Central African Republic at this critical stage and calls on all neighboring countries, regional organizations, and all international partners to support the courageous steps that the Central Africans have made to bring lasting peace and stability to their country. And I have a senior personnel appointment also related to Central African Republic. Today, the Secretary General is appointing Mankeur Ndiaye of Senegal as his new special representative for the Central African Republic and head of the UN peacekeeping mission there. Mr. Ndiaye succeeds Parfait Onanga Anyanga of Gabon, who has been leading the mission since August of 2015. The Secretary General is grateful for Mr. Onanga Nyanga's unwavering commitment to supporting the Central African Republic, in particular during the 2014-2016 transition period that culminated in the Bangui Forum and the 2016 elections. Mr. Onanga Nyanga's leadership, integrity, and personal commitment and tireless efforts have been critical, including in support of the ongoing peace process as part of the panel of facilitators of the African Initiative. Mr. Ndiaye is a seasoned diplomat and brings over 27 years of experience in diplomacy and international affairs, including the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Senegal from 2012 to 2017. We have a fuller biography in his office. And I have a statement from us on the the report that was released today by the World Meteorological Organization. And the Secretary General notes with concern the data released by the World Meteorological Organization that have confirmed that 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018 as the 4 warmest years on record. According to the analysis, the global average surface temperature in 2018 was approximately 1 degree Celsius above the pre-industrial baseline of 1850 to 1900. The data released by the WMO confirms the urgency of addressing climate action, as emphasized in the recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change special report on the impacts of global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The IPCC report that found that limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade will require rapid and far-reaching transitions in land, energy, industry, buildings, transports, and cities, and that global net human-caused emissions of carbon dioxide would need to fall by 45% from 2010 levels by 2030, reaching net zero around 2050. The Secretary General notes that to make these transformations, we need to significantly increase the global level of climate action and ambition. The Secretary General's Climate Action Summit on 23 September of this year aims to mobilize political will to raise ambition to the achievement of the goals of the Paris Agreement and also demonstrate the transformative action in all areas where it is needed. The summit will focus on 9 key areas: mitigation, ambition, energy transition, industry transition, nature-based transition, infrastructure, cities and local action, climate finance and carbon pricing, resilience and adaptation, social and political drivers, and mobilization. The Secretary General is working closely with member states and non-party stakeholders to bring outcomes to these areas to the summit that will send a strong market and political signal that can inject momentum into the race to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. The full report from the World Meteorological Organization has been released and is online. And today, the UN and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent are carrying out their largest ever convoy to provide humanitarian assistance to more than 40,000 displaced people at the remote Rukban makeshift settlement in southeastern Syria. That's on the border with Jordan. The operation is expected to last approximately 1 week. The joint interagency convoy consists of 118 trucks with humanitarian assistance and will deliver food, health, nutrition supplies, core relief items, water, sanitation, and hygiene materials, education items, children's recreational kits to people at the site, the vast majority of whom are vulnerable women and children. Vaccines for some 10,000 children under 5 of age will also be part of the convoy. Also, needs assessments will be carried out. The UN and Red Crescent teams will be conducting those close monitoring during and after distribution to ensure that humanitarian assistance reaches civilians in need. The UN continues to urge all parties to allow safe, sustained, and unimpeded humanitarian access to all people in need in Syria, in line with their obligations under international humanitarian law. And in a joint report issued today, our colleagues at UNICEF and the International Labour Organization say that the vast majority of children lack effective social protection to help them escape the devastating impacts of poverty. Almost everywhere, poverty disproportionately affects children, as they are twice as likely as adults to live in extreme poverty. And while evidence shows that cash transfers play a vital role in providing social protection by breaking the vicious cycle of poverty and vulnerability, only 35% of children on average are covered by social protection. The report calls on the rapid expansion of child and family benefits with the aim of achieving universal protection for children as well as the Sustainable Development Goals. More information online. Today is the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation, and in his message, the Secretary General says that this practice is an abhorrent human rights violation that denies women and girls their dignity, endangers their health, and causes needless pain, suffering, and even death. He said that while there's been positive change in several countries, population growth can shadow these advances if we don't act quickly. He reiterates that ending FGM is part of the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the Spotlight Initiative, which is a joint initiative between the European Union and the United Nations, and calls on all countries to increase their efforts to eliminate this practice. And today we say Dankeschön and to Germany, and thank you, for lack of a better word, to Nauru, because the two of them have joined the honor roll, which brings us up to 39. I'm going to answer my own questions today. Yes, Mario.
So from Venezuela, the opposition has been saying that the army is blocking shipments of aid in the border. Does the UN have any first-hand information from the agencies that are there?
No first-hand information that I'm aware of, but I think it's good to restate a couple of basic principles. First, when in any country there is a serious gap in terms of nutrition or basic health care, including vaccinations. That is indeed a serious humanitarian issue. For the United Nations, humanitarian assistance should be needs-based and carried out in accordance with the principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. Humanitarian action needs to be independent of political, military, or any other objectives. When we see the present standoff, it becomes even more clear that serious political negotiations between the parties are necessary to find a solution leading to lasting peace for the people of Venezuela. Yep.
Just a follow-up, would you appeal the government to allow the entry of this aid?
Look, I think what is important is that humanitarian aid be depoliticized and that the needs of the people should lead in terms of when and how humanitarian aid is used. James.
Yemen. The ongoing talks in Amman and in Hodeidah. Can you give us any update on the progress on the talks about redeployment or the talks about prisoner exchanges? And going forward, do those two sets of talks, do they stay talking in Amman and do they stay on the ship in Hodeidah?
I don't have an update for today. My understanding is just that the talks are continuing, both in Amman and in Hodeidah. And for clarity, the ship in Hodeidah is indeed in the harbor. It is docked, so it is not out. It is not out at sea. But the main participants are remain on the ship during the discussions. The two talks are obviously interlinked as they're part of the Stockholm Agreement, but for, I think, obvious logistical reasons, they're taking place in different locations. Yes, ma'am.
Stéphane, on Hebron and the briefing that is probably ending soon, can you let us know what exactly the Secretary General or the representative of the Secretary General are going to briefed the Security Council about?
No, I don't have any update on that. The Secretary General's position on Hebron has already been publicly expressed through his statement. If I have an update, I will share it with you. Yes, ma'am.
Security Council program in February is Security Council holding quarterly session on Kosovo. Situation in Kosovo?
I don't have the program in front of me. You'd have to ask the Equatorial.
It's nothing to see there.
If there's nothing to see there, there's nothing to see. The council presidency, in consultation with the other member states, established the program of work. If we're asked to brief or present a report, we will. But you should check with the council presidency. Thank you.